A very good morning to everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the History Literature Festival. We've had wonderful sessions on Friday and Saturday. For those who are coming here for the first time, the History Literature Festival started in Ahmedabad a few years ago. We had editions in Pune, Bangalore, and this is the 4th edition, which is being held here at a wonderfully historical venue called the Hyderabad Public School. You can in fact see the houses of the school, which are also, which carry a lot of historical meaning, names like Nalanda, Takshila, and so on. Today's morning sessions have 2 panels, both of them dealing with Hyderabad in certain ways. The first panel is through the lens of cinema, which is probably one of the biggest industries, I would say, of Hyderabad. And the second panel will look at migrations, transformations, very, very different perspectives on the same city that we're going to discover in the morning. So the first panel is called Cinema of Hyderabad, Pasts and Future, and we have 3 speakers. May I invite SV Srinivas on stage. SV Srinivas is a professor at the School of Arts and Sciences, Azim Premji University, Bengaluru. His research focuses on the intersection between popular culture and mass politics in India. He is the author of Megastar, Chiranjeevi and Telugu Cinema, after N.T. Rama Rao, and Politics as Performance, a social history on the Telugu cinema. His commentaries on film and media have been published in Business Line, Frontline, Outlook, Indian Express, and the Times of India. Thank you. Next, may I invite C. Yamini Krishna on stage. She is a film historian, researcher, author, scholar. She works at the intersections of film history, urban history, and Deccan history. She's the author of Film City Urbanism, Hyderabad from Princely City to Global City, 1890 to 2000, and co-editor of Claims on the City. She has curated film exhibitions and archives on cinema, photography, and modern Deccani culture, and made the film Inka Shahar. Her research and writing examines cinema's relationship with city, society, and historical change across media and public platforms. Finally, we have Srinivas Kondra. He is a doctoral student in the Department of Film Studies at the English and Foreign Languages University, IFLU, Hyderabad, and help us navigate through this session. May I invite organizing committee member of the History Lit Fest, Vaibhavi Kulkarni, to come on stage to present the stalls. Thank you. So we begin to explore the journey of cinema of Hyderabad. Over to you, Srinivas Kondra.
Hello. I'm audible now? Yeah, I am super nervous. One reason is SV Srinivas was my teacher at HCU, so he taught me there, so I'm almost in a conversation with my teacher. The other pressure is Yamini was my senior in IFLU, and her supervisor is actually my supervisor. So it's a tremendous pressure to talk about Telugu cinema with these 2 people. But I'll try my best. As I was thinking about this session, I was reminded of Professor Aloysius' conversation about subclassification. Recent there was a subclassification for reservation within the Dalits. So he was saying that finally the, let's say, Indian state or the center saying something positive that caste is a local issue. I mean, it's an issue that should be tackled within the region and see who is forward, who is backward, and arrange those reservations according to the region. So region is something is very important, is what he was stressing upon, and that is something I too believe, that if you want to understand every kind of a production that comes from a particular place, the history of that place is something is very, very important to know. So that way, I think even to understand cinema of Hyderabad is something that we should look into the history and understand. So that way, one question, I think the name itself requires some sort of unpacking. Cinema of Hyderabad, past and futures. Why isn't it called Telugu cinema? Why is it cinema of Hyderabad is something I wanted to ask SV first, and then I'll ask Yamini to respond.
Yeah, you're right. Cinema of Hyderabad is not the same thing as Telugu cinema. So let me start with, Yamini is the expert on cinema of Hyderabad. But let me start with Telugu cinema itself. What is Telugu cinema? What is Telugu about Telugu cinema? To start with something that all of you know, Telugu cinema is a loss-making industry. The film industry is a loss-making industry which also makes films. Okay, I think the reason why we should be talking about Telugu cinema is because its primary social and political function is to make leader figures. I'm not saying it makes leaders, not all of them succeed or not all of them move on to politics, but film after film after film, what you see is the emergence of a leader figure. Now, this is not something that Telugu cinema learned from Hyderabad, I'm sorry to say, or I'm glad to say. This is an immediate legacy, immediately traceable to what was happening in Madras. Telugu cinema was a contributor to it, but it really had to do with what was happening in Madras, the Madras film industry, Dravidian politics, MGR, also, of course, NTR, and so on. So this model of a certain kind of, a cinema that revolves around leader figures is something that we co-created with Tamil-speaking people in Madras. Okay. Of course, you can't only blame Madras. Traces of this can be found, or you can trace it all the way back to Phalke's work, where it seems like cinema's sort of, if you like, intimacy with politics is a long, long story, and Telugu cinema will tell us one particular chapter of it. And that has to do with, the reason why we are able to speak with such confidence about cinema and politics, Telugu cinema and politics, is because it had its origins in Madras. So, yeah. So,
yeah, Yamini, I think, so generally the Telugu cinema that we are seeing now, it looks like there's one present to it. It's everything is called Telugu cinema. But your work and SV Srinivas' work kind of says that it has two different paths in a way, past and futures, right? So the past there are two different paths. One path that is SV is tracing in his book, Politics as Performance. But the another trace that you are after in your own book which has recently come out. So could you talk a little bit about that history? Then I'll ask few questions on Nizam. What was his actually thinking about cinema?
So as Prof SV Srinivas was mentioning, Telugu cinema is not cinema of Hyderabad. Cinema of Hyderabad is separate. It's cosmopolitan, it's Urdu, it has Marathi, it has Telugu, it has Kannada. It's a mix of several languages. So it's not only Telugu cinema. Today we know Hyderabad as the center for Telugu cinema. But when we talk about 1890s, the beginnings of cinema has been there in Hyderabad since then. And how is it that we only hear about cinema in the context of Telugu cinema from the 1960s? Because we don't know much about what happened before Telugu cinema. And that's what the difference between cinema of Hyderabad versus Telugu cinema is. When we go back in time from 1890s to 1948, it's a clear break. Hopefully we'll talk about it later. It is amalgamation of various influences which makes cinema of Hyderabad. There is, as you rightly mentioned, it is very intertwined with the history of the city and the history of the region. There is Nizam, the ruler of the Hyderabad state. There is the British resident in Secunderabad, who's also the British representative. And there are these multiple languages and their cinemas which are participating in the city. There's also influx and movement of European cinemas happening in the city. And you're talking about a period when cinema didn't have language. It's silent cinema. So it's also silent cinema. And at that time, the language of the state is Urdu-dominated culture, with the presence of all these other languages which I mentioned. So it's also a center of Urdu cinema. So you're talking about all of these multiple cinemas and not necessarily the Telugu cinema that we know and the Telugu cinema which has its lineages from Madras. It is at a particular point when it comes to Hyderabad, which we'll talk about later.
One question is, so before 1930s, it was definitely silent cinema. But then when sound came in 1930s, like what was the scene in Hyderabad when sound came? Does the question of language comes up or?
Yeah. So until the 1960s, Telugu cinema was being made in Madras Presidency. As I said, the question of language does come up, and the question of language is very, very significant for Hyderabad. And Hyderabad had a lot of investment in Urdu. We have the Osmania University, the first the first university which is teaching in Urdu, and cinema is not separate from it. So they had a lot of interest in Urdu cinema as well. So it was an Urdu-dominated culture which we had. And of course, there was people viewing Marathi cinema, Kannada cinema, Telugu cinema also. But the investment is in Urdu cinema. And this is what the cosmopolitanism and the multilinguality which I'm talking about. Here it's Palnati Yuddham, written in Telugu, being advertised in an Urdu newspaper, written again in Urdu.
Next, please.
It's not working. This is cinema of Secunderabad, which is various films being circulated. In fact, we are located in the same road, which is the separation between Secunderabad town and the cantonment, this road extending, Alexandria Road. This was the place of cinema for the British troops. It's not working. Can someone? Yeah, this is, an English film being, advertised as Nefileka Kasha in Urdu. So there's a lot of intermingling of various, aesthetics happening, languages happening. This is cinema of Hyderabad before 60s.
Sir, to SV Srinivas, sir, one thing that you talk about and in your book, Politics as Performance, I think that is something that catches our attention immediately is you talk about Telugu Tanam in the book. That is one reason why they were planning to move away from Madras and they want to separate themselves. So, but what was how did they even define what the Telugu Tanam is? One. Second is like when they want to move away to where? Is my question.
Yeah, that's right. Those of you who follow film journalism may have heard of a term called nativity, nothing to do with Christianity and the birth of Christ, but nativity is a Madras film industry term that refers to nativeness. Okay, so it's the ability or demand, however you want to put it, to visually represent, linguistic culture. Basically, it was so. Questions were being asked about how, what makes Tamil cinema Tamil, what makes Telugu cinema Telugu, and so on. And early talkies gradually moved towards, talkie production by the late 30s moved to Madras. And very quickly, the serious Telugu filmmakers realized that the city was not particularly amenable to showing Telugu-ness, which basically meant coastal Andhra kind of Telugu-ness. So there were complaints about how the actors could not tie their dhotis in a way that the Telugus tie their dhotis, and the landscape is a little different and so on. So now basically what we need to understand by that is that it's not enough for films to speak in a language. Okay, they have to be able to visually represent whatever it is considered to be the cultural core of that language. And so a lot of discussions start happening around nativity, Telugu nativity, how can Telugu films have Telugu nativity? And there is an emerging consensus that, Madras is not the place, right? Now, of course, the question was, where do you go? And especially in the 30s and 40s, the other places that had at one point of time production facilities like Rajahmundry and so on were not considered suitable. It is much later that the question of Telugu-ness as something that has to do with the location of production comes back into discussion, and this has a great deal to do with state formation. Okay, the state formation which brought Telangana, what is now Telangana, or the Telugu-speaking parts of the Nizam's dominions into this unified Andhra in 1956. So once again, there is a revival of the demand to move to the Telugu land, which, as Yamini has been saying, the capital is in a city where they were bemoaning the fact that you hardly hear Telugu. Okay, so the Telugu capital, you don't hear Telugu. Again, not unique to United Andhra. This was a lament even in Bangalore that soon after state formation, there was a lament that, you are in the capital city of Karnataka and you don't hear enough Kannada. People are speaking Telugu and Tamil. So here people are speaking Dakhni and Marathi and various other languages also, of course. Yeah. So that becomes a kind of, if you like, the mandate of Telugu cinema, especially Telugu cinema, which wanted to present itself as meaningful, as culturally significant and politically significant and so on. Yeah.
So there were no Telugu speakers in Hyderabad?
It was not that there were no Telugu speakers in Hyderabad, but the language of learning was Urdu and Farsi. For example, I'll give you an example of the Telugu writer, Dasharari. He writes that Urdu is it's my language. So he writes in Telugu, but he says that you cannot separate me from Urdu as well. Or for example, the Telangana, important figure for Telangana, Kaloji. Kaloji also says, my mother speaks Telugu. One of the parents speaks Marathi, one of them speaks Telugu, and he speaks and writes Urdu and Telugu. So which language do I belong to? So it is that mixed, lineage that people come from, and they don't. And the language of culture was Urdu. Telugu cinema was happening, but because the state was investing a lot of money, lots of interest in cultural production around Urdu, so Urdu was the language of culture. Definitely there were Telugu speaking people, but they were also speaking several other languages. Yeah.
I think this story of Telangana arms struggle, one of the driving factors of that movement was also, the one which is behind the political movement was also Telugu Grandhalaya Udyamam and then Andhra Mahasabha, the very name of it. So the Telugu was one of the important factors, no? The struggles against Nizam is what I read. So was that the important factor, Telugu as an important element for Andhra and Telangana to be merged? Is that the reason which says that the love for Telugu, or in other words, Telugu being sidelined by Nizam or giving more importance to Urdu, Telugu seems like an important thing, no, in this? The common understanding, also because of the communalization of Urdu, post 48, that Urdu has been labeled as the Muslim language, and also communalization of the Nizam state itself as the Muslim state. It is because of that we see them as binaries. It's not that the Andhra Mahasabha doesn't exist. Andhra Mahasabha exists. But there are also scholars who have written about it is about proximity to power. And the more important is the land relationships in Andhra Mahasabha. Telugu is a platform for bringing people together, definitely. But it is the struggle for the land, no? It is the struggle against feudalism, and the Nizam's state is seeped in feudal relationships. So Telugu is definitely one of the factors, but it's also, again, here is the politics of caste which comes, which is when you look at the
leaders of the Telugu movement, they're all coming from, again, largely land-owning castes. It is about the proximity to power that is the problem, and not necessarily only the language. That, yes, Telugu is not proximate to the state power is the problem. Yeah.
So one question to you is, when you're saying, yeah, in the capital there was no Telugu and there were not much heard.
There were complaints that there was not enough Telugu.
Enough Telugu, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but then how did it settle in, like, it's almost like homecoming, right? So, if let's say this Telugu is the one which is binding them together, how did they settle in a place like Hyderabad and...
Yeah. To put this very brutally simply, the government played a big role in the government of different state governments at that time. All of them were Congress ruled. They played a big role in making sure that the industry moved. Among other things, there were land grants at very subsidized prices. There were loans for both building infrastructure as well as making films. And there was an open call asking, studio owners and producers to come to Hyderabad. This was something that was simmering from the 1950s. Okay? At that point of time, there was only Saradi Studios. 1950s, it didn't have the capacity to take care of all Telugu film production. And among the big stars, only A&R was willing to work in Saradi. Akini Nageshwar Rao. Okay. So by the 60s, the state government becomes very proactive, lands are given, loans are offered. And at one point of time in the 60s, I was just telling somebody in the morning today, the Kapoors were thinking of investing in Hyderabad, building a studio in Hyderabad. It didn't happen. But there were also Bombay producers who were invited to come and set up infrastructure. Okay? Then comes the Telangana movement, the statehood agitation, and as a result of that, there was a pause. And once again, it starts in the 1970s. And the earliest movers are the big stars, Nageshwar Rao in particular, and then NTR, who quickly followed. So they were key players in investing in Hyderabad. It had to do with investment, not just physically moving, because infrastructure had to be built. Yeah.
Yeah. Yamini, I have one question here. So, like sir was saying, as they were settling, but one more eruption in the name of Telangana movement in 1969. So immediately, probably as they were moving and settling down, and people from Telangana again agitate for a separate statehood movement. How did it play into cinema?
Yeah. As Professor SV was mentioning, when the state was inviting people, they were inviting anyone. Telugu is not the platform for inviting producers. Like Kapoors wanted to come, lots of people from various parts of the country wanted to come and set up. It's an infrastructure program that they wanted to set up infrastructure. And even the subsidies went to various language films. There were some Malayalam films which were made, which got the subsidies. There were some Oriya films which were made, which got the subsidy. But when 1969 happened, that is the agitation for Telangana happened, that's when again Telugu becomes important. Once the Telugu state is formed in 56, it's a non-issue. The state has been achieved. So even for this state government, it's not something they were investing so much resources into. But because the challenge to Teluguness came from Telangana, that we want a separate state. And it's based on some historical reasons. It's the socio-cultural and political and land relation reasons and resources because of which Telangana is coming. It's challenging the language question. It's challenging the Telugu identity. And immediately after that, the state actually starts off Prapancha Telugu Mahasabhalu, the World Telugu Conference, in which the film industry played a very active role. And it is subsequent to this Telangana agitation in 1969 that the subsidies only start going to Telugu films. And the industry starts wanting to become Telugu industry and not necessarily only a production center. Like before 69, if you look at all the people who are writing about this Telugu, this film industry, they are saying that, Madras produces Telugu cinema, Tamil cinema, Malayalam cinema, Hyderabad also should do this. It's not necessarily only Telugu cinema. But after 69, the focus becomes that it has to be a home for the Telugu cinema. We have to, and also as SV Srinivas has discussed in great detail, We have the figure of NTR emerging, who is also using Telugu as a platform for electoral, his electoral campaign. So all of this come after 69. And Telangana, I have argued that it is the catalyst for, forging this, again, Telugu identity.
So one query again. So, but Telugu language itself becomes a site of contestation, no? In the later period, in the Telangana separate statehood movement. So here they are saying that it's because of this, so there were Telugu Mahasabhas conducted, and it has emerged into an industry, a linguistic industry. But the Telugu itself becomes a site of contestation. Something that you have written a little bit, I don't know fully, in Gadar Effect, I guess.
So, I suppose it's with anything that, you could call it some variant of nationalism, so linguistic nationalism. You realize you have so many crore people, obviously there are going to be internal differences. There were regional differences. There were, differences in the ability of the Telangana region and also the Rayalaseema region to access resources, jobs, and so on. And there were also cultural reasons. Telangana dialect, Telangana Telugu is a very different Telugu from coastal Andhra or Rayalaseema. And even within these so-called Rayalaseema Telugu, you have multiple sort of, variants and so on. So the point is, what was able to hold, what was the container in which you could put all the crores and crores of Telugu people, okay? Now, I would like to believe that the only container that was available was cinema. That was the only thing, okay, I've said this before, so it's not controversial anymore. The only thing that the Telugus had in common, whether it was 1947 or whether it was 1956 or whether it was 1969 or 72 or whenever it was, or even today you have other media as well, but the one thing that they had in common at that point of time was not print. Not many people could read. A majority could not read. So it was not classical forms. Kuchipudi dance and so on was not something that you could claim that all Telugus associated with. The one thing that all Telugus had in common was cinema. And NTR was the biggest star of Telugu cinema. And therefore, when he said, I speak for the Telugu nation, everybody said, yeah, of course. Who else could?
I think as you're speaking about, since you brought up NTR, could you talk a bit about, is crossover into politics? Is crossover into politics?
Okay. Crossover into politics, first of all, there was apparently a model in the form of MGR. MG Ramchandran was already the chief minister of this thing. But there are very crucial differences between the careers of MGR and NTR. MGR was in politics from the 1950s, and his career grew with his political involvement. That is undeniable. It was participation in DMK politics that actually made him a bigger star than he was prior to that. Okay, now he was already an MLA. He was already, he was the face of DMK's political campaigns. Whereas NTR, there are accounts which suggest that he was interested. He may even at some point of time been trying for a Rajya Sabha seat apparently. All these are unconfirmed sort of claims that have been made by different biographers and different people who've written about him. But broadly speaking, his entry was rather sudden compared to MGR. And there was no movement. There was no movement or on the ground sort of, formation that he could, either claim to be a part of or break away from to say, look, I'm different. So he's somebody who brought with him nothing but cinema, his stardom. That's all he had, as his political investment. Of course, he had the caste class elites of the time backing him. He also had the media backing him. Inadu solidly backed him. Of course, Inadu grew in popularity because of the support for NTR. That's a different matter. So many things worked out for him. And the fact that Congress infighting and all sorts of stuff was happening there, newspapers of the time say that Rajiv Gandhi may not have handled Andhra very well, and all sorts of other political factors came into play, but it was, it's unlike MGR, NTR's, basic asset or primary asset was cinema, nothing else. So, and as I said, by this time, cinema had, film viewership had grown significantly in the Telangana region. It was not so earlier. And Telugu film viewership had grown. Okay, earlier, as Yamini pointed out, Telangana, people are watching films, especially in the urban centers, but they were watching films in multiple languages, and Hindi was very popular. So what happens post-56 and post-60s is that exhibition grows, distribution grows, and Telugu cinema starts spreading deep into Telangana. So by the time NTR decides to enter politics, Telugu cinema was everywhere in the state. Compared to any other time in the past, it was very widely spread. So that is an advantage he had.
Yamini, according to your work, like how do you see this stardom? What are the probably material conditions? Why is it spreading?
Yeah, so one is, as SV was mentioning, the backdrop of, we'll start with the state. The state started with subsidies, land, and specific caste class configurations. The Kamma capital from the coastal Andhra is what came and settled in Hyderabad. And it's the same capital which is now going into politics. And there is also, behind the star phenomenon, we also have the spread of theaters, as SV is mentioning. The star phenomenon is also led by the taxation changes, not during the NTR period, but we also have stars continuing until now, no? The symbiotic relationship between politics and stars and land continues in Telugu cinema even today. And this happens because of the making of, in the Chiranjeevi, I'm coming to Chiranjeevi, the big stars after NTR. There is a very specific ruling of taxation which helps the making of something like a figure like Chiranjeevi, a big figure like Chiranjeevi, is the cinema taxation system of slab system, which is basically if you are a theater and you had 100 seats, you initially paid taxes for the number of tickets you sold. But the state changed the system. They said you have to pay tickets for all the seats, irrespective of occupancy. Which means that if I'm showing a film and only 10 people are sitting in the theater, I still have to pay charges for taxes for 100 seats. So what happened as a result? The theater sizes decreased. And also that means that you didn't want to run theaters if they're not full. Let's say if there's a film which is running and only 20 people are watching, that means I don't want to run the film because it's bad money. It doesn't work financially. So more investment in making of the stardom. How do I get more people to the theater? Again, how do you get more people? By making bigger star films and by making like big, song, dance, commercial hits for a less period of time. Now the films don't run for 100 days. They'll run for 20 days, but full houses, so that I don't have to pay more tax. So this is the behind the scenes because of which the star phenomenon continues even post, NTR as such. But if you're talking again about the city, the homecoming, as you called, it happens for 30 years. It picks up pace because of the political power of NTR, and it also becomes an emotional issue, saying that I am the Telugu leader, I am asking you to come. Will you be the traitor who will not come? That's what happens. So,
Not come for theaters?
No, come back to Hyderabad.
Oh, Hyderabad, okay.
Yes.
So, sir, do you agree with, is that how the star is constituted? Of course, the material conditions is one. What else plays into it in the emergence of a film star?
No, I think, of course, the films themselves play a big role. But what Yamini was saying is that there are other factors like taxation which have also contributed to the emergence or the consolidation of a certain kind of cinema. That it makes sense to make big budget star vehicles because you will fill up the theaters at least for a few weeks, and that makes better sense in terms of getting your money back. So, but yes, I do have a clip to tell us about the kind of stars, but that's coming up much later. So, you want to? Okay, fine. Let's skip. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
నాకేం తెలియదు సార్, నన్ను వదిలేండి సార్. ఇక్కడ ప్రాణాలతో మిగిలిన ప్రతి ఒక్కరిని నేనే తీసుకెళ్తాను సార్ అంబులెన్స్ లో.
సరే వదిలేస్తాను, కానీ దారిలో మీలాగే చాలా మంది చాలా చోట్ల నా కోసం వెయిటింగ్ అని తెలుసు. ఎక్కడ పడితే అక్కడ ఆగి కొట్టడానికి ఇలాంటి చోటు దొరుకుద్దో లేదో నా డౌట్. అందరినీ ఇక్కడికి వచ్చేమని కబురు చేస్తే చీకటి పడే లోపు పూర్తి చేసుకొని మిమ్మల్ని పంపించిన దగ్గర కూడా వెళ్ళాలి.
మాకు ప్రాణం పోసిన ప్రాణాని భయ్యా, ఈ ప్రాణానికి హాని తలపెట్టేవాడు ప్రాణాలతో ఉంటే ఒట్టు.
దారి పొడుగునా ఇంకా ఏ నా కొడుకులు ఉన్నారు. ఊరూరా కావలి కాసి దొరికినట్టు తెగ నరుకుతాం. కదలండయ్యా.
I thought, kind of self-explanatory, no? Yeah, just 1 second. Okay, so it's what the part that I didn't show you. I mean, it's a long stunt sequence which ends like this. The part that I didn't show you is him beating up like dozens of people whom you see now bundled into the ambulance. That is, that is the usual cinematic hero, right? They can beat up any number of people. But we are Telugus, we have to get better than that. So now you see the way in which the figure of the hero is sort of inextricably sort of linked to the figure of the leader. And so when the bigger whatever group of gangsters arrive, he doesn't even have to do anything because he's already the magnet of the masses. And you see all of those people there, they're not paid extras. They're actually people who come to watch the shooting. And this is something that you keep on and on and on seeing from roughly the late 70s, early 80s. They just come to watch the shooting, and that becomes part of the, part of the movie, because the crowd scene, is one in which the hero will perform their heroism. So yeah, that's the kind of star, and obviously there is a, there's all of us fans sort of saying, cheering him on. So we are there very much on this thing. But the fan as an organized presence is also obviously being invoked here. That this is the kind of following this person has. And Mahesh Babu, for those of you who don't know, has not contested elections. He has not announced any plans to contest elections, and so on. So it's got nothing to do with whether they're making plans to contest elections or not. This is the model of the hero that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to ask next. But something like I noticed recently, so this hero, I clearly see that, yeah, from earlier, I don't know, you can correct my observation if it is wrong. There was the hero, the emergence of the hero was mostly a story of an underdog. You have all these difficulties. From there you emerge and then you become a hero, then you become a star. But this kind of a hero is already looks like Prince, and then even Bahubali for that matter. It's a story of kings, and so the king becoming a hero, what is so great about it?
So I think this is, I'm just going a little bit back. This is our caste-wed dream. This is the caste-wed dream. This is about caste. It is the caste-wed dream, I'm saying, that basically it is the language in which the leader is being invoked is extremely casteist also. And, and as SV has written extensively about fan organizations, are basically caste organizations which look at this as another avenue for fandom. It is very intertwined with the caste relationships of this region. And coming back to your question of the underdog to the current, it is, I think the answer is, SV will answer it better, but it's in the mix of both caste and capital relations that the caste does not disappear. It just, here, like in this language, he calls them Ayya. The leader is Ayya. You are, who gets referred to as Ayya? I mean, it's a caste language, which is, so it is, it nicely transforms into new capitalism. That's why your underdog disappears, because we don't need to pretend anymore. So the underdog disappears, and now nicely the upper caste elite is also the economic elite, and he can nicely transform into the hero. This is what I would say.
So the reason, sir, why I asked is in one of the songs in Bahubali, Ni adugulake madgulotte valla memayya, dandalayya. So this dandalayya, so it's still they are not doing this dandam to someone who emerged from them, right?
Yeah, okay. Let's just also, there are sociological factors, there are social factors, there are caste and interplay of caste and politics. Which party do you support? Because I know that so-and-so party, is indirectly or directly supported by X star, and Y star is supporting another one, and so on. Or it might be to do with local level politics where different caste groups sort of align themselves with different political formations, and which in turn are seen as being close to one or another party, regardless of whether the stars themselves choose a party. So this has been happening from the from the 80s onwards. But let's also look at it as cinema. Okay, after all, it is cinema. It's not just the playing out of caste politics in the cinema halls, which also happens. But in cinematically speaking, okay, what you see here is a kind of a shorthand. Right now, you have Mahesh Babu. He's a star for the last 20 years or so. You don't need to work the narrative around this guy who makes it big. He's already big. In fact, when you have, just imagine NTR's late film, sometimes he plays, a working class character already. In fact, in MJ's Rickshaw Karan, 1974, I think, already such a big star that when he plays a rickshaw puller, he is, he has got a BA degree and so on to, within the story, somehow account for the fact that he is already a big, he's already quite a popular rickshaw puller. Okay, so he's no ordinary rickshaw puller, and that has to do with
Like
the
Pushpa,
fact-
you mean? Pushpa.
Pushpa, yeah, I mean, yes, he will play, Pushpa will play a working class hero, but he is Allu Arjun. I mean, how much can you hide that? You can paint his face black and all that, but you're going there for Allu Arjun, right? So you have to show him as somebody who is distinct. He's not just another, this is not after all an art film, right? So you are going to work with distinction, the distinction of the character, but the distinction of the character which is going to work only if you work better if you already, if you have someone who is already distinct as a star. So that, that's like, sorry, boring you with film studies 101, but yeah, that's the basics of how stars work on screen everywhere. If you want to get Tom Cruise to play an industrial laborer, he is Tom Cruise, whatever he's doing, yeah.
But the story had that element, right? Element of coming from those difficulties and emerging. At least the story had it, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so what happens when a Chiranjeevi or Allu Arjun or anybody else plays a working class character? You will have a very different kind of working class character, okay? So the story will have to be different, okay? That's one part of it. The second thing is that we've arrived at a stage, and it's happening to cinemas, not just Telugu cinema, but we've arrived at a stage where the stars are so big that finding a crisis, a narrative level crisis that is good enough to hold your attention is becoming difficult. So they have to have bigger and bigger problems. They have to have, or family drama, because you can't, after all, bash up your brother-in-law or somebody like that, right? So Rajinikanth, a lot of family drama in some of his 90s films and later. So if it's not the boss of the industry whom you can easily finish off in 2 seconds, the only crisis that can actually stop you from using your star muscle power is when you can't beat up the other guy. Okay, there's something happening there that prevents you from doing what a star hero usually does. That's one kind of crisis that our stars have gone into, and I will not name names, but the series of disasters that big stars are coming up with is precisely because what is the crisis? The next level of crisis, if you like, is to save the nation or the linguistic nation or the state from bad politics. Okay, now bad politics is not just somebody who is an evil politician whom you can easily handle, but again complicated by a number of other factors and twists and turns in the story and so on. So yeah.
Also, I think there is continuity from one film to another. Like you saying that if he's already defeated the biggest industrialist in the country, then in next film, how can you do the same thing? You have to do something more, no? Like, because you know that the star, you're going for the star. The star has, life has continuity across films. So next film, I will have to go international. I will defeat like some drug cartel. And the next film, I will go to Obama or Osama. So that's how. Otherwise, again, if you already defeated the industrialist, you've done it. Why will you do it again? The star film will not hold. People have to come to watch that 20-day, 100 crore turnover thing, right? It has to be bigger and bigger each time. Or like SV was saying, you go back to home because home is a difficult domain. Or you go back in history, like we'll have in the next clip which he wants to show, like history in quotes, the mythology, which basically that this is not something, it's not an industrialist, it's the mythological and the what do you say, dimensions of mythology also bigger, can be bigger because it's in the domain of, you don't have to be real. So, yeah. The cat, okay.
Which one said the cat? Yeah. What does it say?
That's also Mahesh Babu, by the way, except that it's not Mahesh Babu. Mahesh Babu did the voiceover for the latest Lion King, and one of his fans took that cat to as a Lion King equivalent. Yeah.
So one question regarding this pan-India phenomena. I think that is something a lot of people are interested in. This pan-India phenomena, I have one doubt regarding the, again, language question. So, For example, for Telugu Tanam, they have moved. And now, does that Telugu is there anymore? Because every movie that you make is now in like 12 different languages. And so the language, the identity for which they strived, is it still intact, or do we not care about the language anymore? Is something I wanted to ask.
Okay, now let's talk about Hindi cinema. Okay, that's YouTube search for Hindi movies. The first one is an ad. Okay, and the first one which comes up by view count, YouTube. Okay, when you search for Telugu, Hindi, I searched. I don't know if it's still the same now. Searched for Hindi movies, and the first actual hit is Sarainodu, the Hindi version. It's an Allu Arjun Telugu film which has been dubbed into some. So the crisis is not with Telugu cinema, but actually Hindi cinema, where what you see you look for Hindi movies is like some Tamil or Telugu film which comes up, right there, by view count. That's Indian movies. Indian movies, the first one is a dubbed version of, actually not even a very major Telugu film. Okay, so now how did Telugu, or even for that matter Tamil, or the odd Kannada film as well, how did they become pan-Indian? Long history. Dubbing has a very long history, especially in South India. They've always dubbed films into each other's languages. So we have seen, I have seen an MGR film in Telugu as a child. I didn't know he was Tamil. Of course, several people in my generation and younger people have also seen Rajinikanth and Kamal Hassan in Telugu. A lot of Malayalis have seen Allu Arjun in Malayalam. Now, so he's called Mallu Arjun, I believe. So this has been happening for a while. I mean, it's been happening for decades, from the 50s roughly. What changes is the arrival of television and 24-hour movie channels, where you have to show something or the other 24 hours a day. So you're looking for cheap content. So dubbed films become available. How are films being dubbed in such large numbers in Hindi? Because for the small town movie halls, Bollywood was too expensive. So they were going for the cheapest available films. They were either Bhojpuri films, which were made for the small town audience, or they were dubbed films from Telugu and Tamil and so on, or dubbed Hollywood films for that matter. So you got over a decade-long sort of, acculturation of non-Telugu speakers, especially. And actually, I don't think it's about what language you speak, but what language you watch your movies in, right? So if you're used to watching Hindi films, then you start getting Hindi films which are actually dubbed. You get a Jurassic Park in Hindi, but you also get a Chiranjeevi movie or a Venkatesh movie or a Rajinikanth movie in Hindi, because they are the only ones your neighborhood theater can afford to show. And television comes, then comes YouTube. Everybody then starts, Jio arrives, thanks to Ambani's, and everybody's watching movies on phones. So these characters, the themes of the movies, the kind of over-the-top action sequences, which was shunned by the so-called Bollywood, the Bollywoodized Hindi cinema, which is considered to be a little more sophisticated, more family drama-oriented, and NRI-oriented and all that. So this replaces that for a segment of the audience, and then comes a Rajinikanth's Indiran or something like that, which opens up that market. It says that, no, you can compete with Hindi cinema in their market. So that's really pan-Indian cinema, which is non-Hindi films doing well in Hindi. Okay? Not every film which is dubbed into Hindi does well. You can have pan-Indian disasters. You can have a number of films which are dubbed but do well only in one particular language, and so on. So that's long and short of it is that the industry can't take full credit for the fact that it's now everywhere. Dubbing is playing a big role. The popularity of Rajamouli's work abroad is also powered by dubbing. Okay, not dubbing into English, but it's the Hindi versions which are circulating. The Hindi version of RRR was showing on Netflix. It becomes a big sensation on Netflix, so it's re-released theatrically. Okay, so who takes the credit? Actually, Hindi cinema takes the credit, but it's a Hyderabad production. Okay, so yeah, language cinema. Once again, we come back to stage one.
So I'll give you a couple of, when we're thinking of this pan-India now, so about maybe 15 years ago when I went to Calcutta, somebody asked me, where are you from? Hyderabad. Oh, said NTR. And then I was traveling in Vietnam, somebody said, oh, Bahubali. And then my Nepali friend there's a film which is running, which has Brahmanandam in it, who's a Telugu comedian. So we are not talking it's literally like, as we were saying, through dubbing, and it's literally been circulating quite a bit. Now we see it more because they have realized and they're promoting it that way, but the circulation has been quite wide. For instance, if you, as we was mentioning, it's impossible to watch a Hindi cinema. I mean, a Bombay cinema on television because there is nobody showing it. You don't get it. It's all Telugu cinema everywhere. So in various languages, and all of them are watching this. So the pan-India, I think, as he was mentioning, it has multiple phases. And right now, dubbing is the key, and dubbing also has become very easy right now because of technology. Technology is the second aspect which we need to talk about because it's become very easy to dub films. It's not as opposed to, let's say, even in 70s it used to happen. I've seen all Kamal Hassan films in Telugu only. Like, I don't think I've seen anything in Tamil or Rajnikant. Or we have, as Ashvi has worked on it, the karate films. These are all over, coming from all over, inspired from Hong Kong, being made in Telugu. So it is quite not pan-India, even beyond. So I think this is just that it's being discussed as pan-India right now, but cinema has been quite circulating all over, even before, I think. Yeah.
Is there anything that remains, like Telugu, something that continues to stay in those films? Is there anything like that? Nothing.
No, I have said that until 90s, we are obsessed with Telugu. Like, once the global moment happens, it is that, how do we now transport Telugu abroad, is what it is. It's like, it is Telugu, but it is also not, because the important aspect is, can we be global? Not necessarily, can we be Telugu? We've proven that we are Telugu by now, by 90s. So now can we export it to all over the world? I would think so.
Can I
Moderate me.
provocatively answer that question about how we are still very Telugu?
Okay.
Okay, this is Bahubali, Telugu. And I'll come back to Bahubali after we watch this clip. This is just for the edification of the 3 people in the audience who have never seen Bahubali, okay? Just for the 3 of you, I'm showing this clip. Very useful clip for several reasons. One is that it tells you what Hyderabad film industry is in terms of the scale of production you can mount here and perhaps mount only here. Nowhere else in India can such a production be possible. The second thing it tells us about is what Telugu film industry is good at. It's good at mounting spectacle. Perhaps not so good at efficient storytelling. If you insist on intricately plotted films which move really fast and so on, but that's not the kind of cinema anybody is watching anymore. But what is really fascinating about Bahubali is that this is just one part of what the producers thought was the story. Right? This is from the website of Arca Films. So it was not supposed to stop with this two-part movie. It was supposed to be an entire franchise, right? So what is Telugu about Telugu cinema is that it has not made that it had not made that transition, which, for example, Hollywood, Disney formats, Japanese entertainment industry, Pokemon, one format, one character, many formats. So you do a kind of a Pokemon character, there'll be a film on it, there'll be a TV series on it, there'll be like toys, all of that, all of which was tried, okay? But except for the odd book that has come out, there's a new Bahubali book, by the way, by Anand Neelakantan. But other than that, the other ventures that were seen as spin-offs from the character they had created and the story they had created, that hasn't happened. So in that sense, we remain very Telugu, we remain attached to films and things that can, maybe a little bit of a distance from films, maybe on TV and live shows and so on, but not beyond that. So film as franchise has not really happened. What has happened is franchise film has come in. You can have the same star and character, like do multi-part films. So that's what is Telugu about our cinema.
I think, can we open it up for questions? Yeah, I think we'll stop here.
Hello, can I? May I ask a question?
Someone needs to moderate the discussion.
All right. My compliments to both of you for this presentation, but since we are here in HPS, let me mention that my classmate here in school, Venkat Akkineni, who runs the Akkineni Studios, Annapurna Studios, today Hyderabad has the best production facility in Asia. You spoke about Bahubali. Annapurna Studios today have the most sophisticated modern production facility anywhere in Asia. Next to Hollywood, it's Hyderabad. As a consequence of which, world cinema is coming to Hyderabad. You only spoke about Telugu cinema. A lot of Hindi cinema is being done here. A lot of advertising is being produced here. Hollywood is moved here. So Hyderabad actually has become a global cinema center, thanks to Annapurna and Akkineni.
Actually, it is not, I probably will be a little controversial, but it's actually because of the land. We have 2,000 acres in which this can be mounted. Ramoji Film City. In which city in India will you get 2,000 acres? Uttar Pradesh is trying now to replicate what Hyderabad has done, failed. It actually tried thrice to set a bid rolling, did not. Again, because there's all this we discussed, there's a collusion of caste capital, political capital, and land, which is happening in Hyderabad, because of which this is possible, which cannot be replicated. It continues to be significant. That's why. In fact, like when Telangana happened, basically they said that Ramoji land is not, is illegally acquired, so they'll take it back. But Telangana has happened, and they said, no, this is fair, this is fair land, it still exists. So the collusion of these three things is what runs the Telugu industry, and it will not be possible to replicate it in other places. As the gentleman rightly pointed out, they want in fact, Ramoji's bid was that we'll get the world from to come to Hyderabad. It's only been relatively successful. It's not extraordinarily successful because when it initially came up, a lot of Hollywood producers were interested, but it only is allow for this kind of globalization to happen in terms of, let's say, managerial kind of thing to happen. So it is successful, but it has its boundaries within which it operates.
But with the separate state, Telangana, the elites from this state, I mean, they are not the same, no, with Andhra Pradesh. Could they not push them away and the guys from here emerge?
No, it again. I think we've discussed this already. It's a long history of the elites from Telangana are not as let's say entrepreneurial. But that's also the claim, the stereotype that it is not as entrepreneurial in this way as the elites from coastal. And it's also I mean, it happened. I think even in last year or 6 months ago, there's this discussion on who does Hyderabad belong to. And the coastal Andhra capital says, we built Hyderabad, it's ours. And the locals say, but it is ours. You know, you've come here. So this is an ongoing contestation. But again, talking from the perspective of the state is better off with the capital, I mean, the coastal Andhra capital not migrating out. Because I mean, it's not just identity, no? It's there's this capital relations also. So I don't think it'll allow that migration, saying that you push out. It's only for, I mean, for the state formation, it is a good platform, but post-state formation, I mean, we need this. You still want Hyderabad to be the hub for all of this. No, you want it to be the film hub, IT hub, and many other hubs, whatever that is.
Here, someone was asking. It's not on.
Thank you so much. You were talking about Telugu cinema only, whether it came from Madras or what about when I looked at cinema of Hyderabad, I didn't think of Telugu cinema at all. I thought of films like made by Shyam Benegal, Nagesh Kukunor, and even that rare film Angrez, and which had one or two. Do they have no future? Is that why you never spoke about them? Or, yeah.
No, that was actually there in
the next slide, but we didn't go to it.
Because I thought we were running out. So we expected that this would come up. So now I think they will talk about it, especially Yamini.
So, I mean, it's interesting that you brought the Deccani cinema, what is called as the Deccani cinema, Angrez, and there was Angrez 2 and all of that. It started with this film, like the Nagesh Kukunur. They sort of discovered that there is this market for Hyderabad, to imagine Hyderabad as a space for narratives, which Telugu cinema, as SV has written, that it doesn't do until 1970s. And even after that, because it's a migrating capital from coastal Andhra, our investment is in the paddy fields and the feudal families and the perfect Hindu families and all of that. Hyderabad is difficult to do this. As a geography, it is, as we started off with cosmopolitanism, we started off with multilingual. We also have a significant presence of Muslim population, which Telugu cinema is uncomfortable with. So in that context, they not really engage with Hyderabad so much. This film did. It sets off the ball rolling for all the films which you mentioned. Not the Shyam Benegal films. Shyam Benegal, there's a different trajectory. But for the Deccan films, Angrez and all of those. But interestingly, if you dig a little bit deeper into who's making these films, it's the coastal Andhra NRI sitting in the US, nostalgically looking back at, I'm talking about Angrez, and I'm talking about the set of three or four other films which have come. They're nostalgically looking back at Hyderabad, and that moment of nostalgia has not continued in cinema, but has continued a lot on digital content. There's lots and lots of Hyderabad content on YouTube, on Instagram, on all of these various platforms. And in fact, like for example, if you're talking about the Hyderabad, because it's also about the interreligious relationships which these films talk about. There are these Muslim characters, and there is old city, and there is this particular kind of language. But where is this money coming from? It's the NRI money which is making this. So there's an element of nostalgia which is associated with it. It's also a market. It's a market which is growing, but growing in not necessarily cinematic, in the film domain, but other media domains.
I think Shekhar Kamula did try, no, in Dollar Dreams, and even later also he has these characters.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to quickly also mention B. Narasimha Rao, who is the kind of bridge between new cinema that was being made with FTI graduates and so on, and Telugu industry. He doesn't make he doesn't make films for the Telugu film industry, but he is actually someone who brought in a number of influences into popular Telugu cinema. So whether it is the ruralist kind of themes that new cinema was dealing with, but nobody here had seen them. So via Narasimha Rao, we saw the countryside as being depicted very differently. The countryside as a space of oppression. Okay, the protagonist as a struggling peasant. All of those figures that we got into, Chiranjeevi's early films, for example, are drawing on that kind of cinema. And Narasimha Rao is a very, very important, influence on Telugu cinema. It has not been admitted, not been written about, but he is the key, bridge between the kind of cinema that Shyam Benegal made and, the...
I have a chapter or maybe a little bit on
because of that, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the session. Thanks a lot. And Srinivas, you don't have to be apologetic about it. You did a wonderful job. My question is, if you look at the period in between, few years back, suddenly, with everyone having a mobile, with social media, having so much control, we came across that phase where there was, everything was you are kind of, saying that this doesn't matter, and we can, block out cinema. We are the ones who will decide. Then what happens, there was a narrative which was built that the Bollywood cinema is very pro-Muslim. You have, like the very imaginative kind of stories which are going where, Indian spy is in love with an ISI agent and all those kinds of stories. Then everybody went back into South cinema, not necessarily Telugu cinema, saying we are the one who are representing the authentic Indian cinema. And if you look at films like Bahubali or RRR. So I would just like to get your comments on it. Now, of course, with the coming of Dhurandhar, again, the scene has changed, and we are now again talking about how, it is also portraying reality. But in between, I think the Southern cinema really got a big hype. So I would like to get your comments on that.
I think there are several management professors in this room who should take note of how much free marketing Telugu cinema especially got from internet trolls who were affiliated to one particular political formation. You're right. But there was also in that process a certain appropriation of especially Telugu cinema by people who were reading into it a certain kind of, let's say, BJP politics. Okay, so Bahubali very quickly became a sort of a pro-BJP film, but if you were to watch it located in the history of Telugu cinema, you might not read it as such an obviously BJP film, or maybe only incidentally, or maybe that would be one of the several readings possible, right? And now you have Telugu cinema, which is, among other things, our latest, one of the Sankranti films, we had one of our star heroes dealing with the Chinese aggression. So yeah, we are there. We are fighting nationalist battles now. So yes, it's been Telugu cinema has been a key player, not necessarily by design, but it became a key resource in online trolling and campaigning. Yes.
That was why I was actually asking, one second, sir, about this, how the king Bahubali and then the hero becoming a hero, whereas the underdog has slowly disappeared and disappearing. So the enemy is always outside the border, but what about the borders within? And underdog has always fighting the local goon, not the one who is completely outside. So that is what. That's why I was talking about it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I have a question for SV here. Yeah. So since you were talking about the politics of language, I would like to know your comments on the emergence of regional languages in Telugu cinema over time. For example, in the previous years like 80s and 90s, the most of the Telangana language, the different dialects, are used by the villains or the comedians in Telugu cinema. Like, making a parody or, commenting or some kind of language they were used. But in current times, in Telugu popular media or the cinema, the pan-India cinemas, the Telangana language is using as the main language. The main characters are using this language. So could you please talk a bit on it?
Yes, it has to do with the agitation for Telangana state and the formation of the state. What can I say except that it's a very positive development. You now hear many variants of Telugu, and you are not hearing them because some comedian is speaking in that accent, right? It's because the protagonist is speaking it, and many examples. You also have Rayalaseema Telugu being heard. You have North Andhra Telugu being heard, which was not the case earlier. Yeah.
Does it diverge into two different industries with this Telugu, Telangana Telugu and Andhra Telugu? Like with Balagam and all of this coming, like in continuation to what she was asking.
Yeah.
Does it like become the films from Telangana will only speak in that particular Telangana dialect? And
Actually,
that's not going to happen.
To think of a pan-Indian film that we are all embarrassed about, Arjun Reddy, it's the protagonist speaks in Telangana Telugu, and I don't think it prevented the film from circulating in the rest of Telugu.
I think that's Telugu. I mean, that's the Telugu, what do you say, misogyny and patriarchy, which is pan-India. Definitely.
I think, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That will have to conclude the session right now.